We need to talk about the one addiction nobody wants to name. It's the ritual we keep locked behind closed doors, a secret source of immediate relief that often leaves behind a hidden, corrosive trail of guilt. For many, it starts as self-care, but quickly becomes a quick-fix escape from stress, anxiety, or the simple weight of being alone. But what if that private habit isn't just affecting your body? What if it is silently rewriting your brain's reward system, distorting your views on real intimacy, and creating a shame-driven avoidance loop that is actively pushing away the person you love the most? Today, we are breaking the silence. We are stepping out of judgment and into science, philosophy, and practical advice to uncover the shocking truth of what happens when you masturbate too much, and more importantly, how to finally stop running from your feelings and start reconnecting with your life. What happens in the quiet moments after the peak? We often focus on what we do, but rarely pause to consider what that doing does to us, especially when it transitions from being a conscious choice to an unconscious compulsion. This conversation is not about judging a natural, healthy human function, but about dissecting the delicate bridge between self-care and self-sabotage. The first and most critical understanding we must internalize is that this is never just a physical act. It is a profound, two-way dialogue between your mind and your body, the mind-body bridge. The thought that initiates the act is mental, but the physiological response it triggers immediately sends a powerful signal back to the brain, creating a feedback loop that begins to shape your entire reward landscape. Let us be absolutely clear. In moderation, this act can be a natural, vital, and healthy part of self-discovery and stress regulation. But our focus today is on excess, on the point where self-pleasure transforms into self-escape, where a healthy, conscious release morphs into a compulsive ritual. The moment the act is no longer a conscious choice, but a required escape mechanism from discomfort. The line has been crossed. This distinction is paramount because the moment the behavior becomes rooted in avoidance, it stops serving your genuine well-being and starts dictating your emotional life. When you begin to rely on this quick fix to numb feelings like anxiety, fear, or a deep sense of inadequacy, you are not simply engaging a muscle. You are rewiring a fundamental mechanism in your brain. You are training yourself to seek immediate, short-circuited pleasure at the expense of the sustained, deeper fulfillment that comes from engaging with the real world, from sitting with your true emotions, and from real-life connection. This is where the profound deception begins. The question we must carry forward is this: when the act becomes compulsive, what is your brain actually trading away in those moments of immediate gratification? When we talk about what is traded away, we have to talk about the brain's currency, dopamine. This is where modern psychology gives us the map to our compulsive behavior. Every time you engage in excessive, highly stimulated self-gratification, you are not lighting a small, sustainable campfire. You are pulling a massive, immediate fire alarm. Dopamine is released, but the sheer volume and immediacy of that hit is what short-circuits the natural reward pathway. Think of it this way: the pleasure derived from real-world connection, from achieving a long-term goal, or from genuine intimacy is like the steady, warm, and comforting heat of a small campfire. It sustains you. The hit from the compulsive habit, however, is a sudden, blinding flash, followed by an immediate, empty silence. The problem is the frequency and intensity. When this fire alarm goes off repeatedly, your brain's architecture begins to adapt, and not in a positive way. We see the accumulation of a protein complex called DeltaFosB. This is a fascinating and crucial piece of neuroscience. DeltaFosB accumulates in the brain's pleasure centers, and the more it builds up, the more it literally hardwires the addictive response, making the behavior harder and harder to quit. This is the same underlying mechanism we see in nearly all forms of addiction and compulsive behavior, which is why it feels so inescapable. Your brain is structurally reinforcing the urge. Now, your mind starts to chase that memory of the immediate flash, not the sustainable flame. You are pursuing a pleasure that the brain can no longer match, which only leads to an increase in the frequency of the behavior, creating a vicious cycle of diminishing returns. The habit is no longer about pleasure. It becomes about escaping the discomfort of the craving itself. So, if the brain is constantly chasing a peak, it can never truly reach again. What fundamental emotional need is this behavior really masking? The question is not what you are doing. Every compulsive behavior is an answer to a question the mind hasn't consciously asked yet. And for many, this behavior is a deeply rooted coping mechanism. Often, the compulsion is triggered by a sudden spike in emotional stress, anxiety over work, fear of the future, loneliness, or perhaps even the echo of unprocessed trauma. It becomes a readily available, private form of self-soothing, a temporary retreat from the pain of reality. But here is where ancient mindfulness offers a timeless challenge. When you habitually use this act to numb anxiety or grief, you are pressing the emotional pause button, but you are not deleting the file. Every time you seek this immediate relief, you are avoiding the profound, yet essential, work of sitting with the discomfort. We are so conditioned to escape pain, yet genuine healing, growth, and emotional resilience are forged in the very discomfort we try to avoid. Furthermore, this compulsive act becomes the instant self-gratification trap. It gives you a quick, false proof of competence or self-connection, replacing the need to seek real-world connection or to build genuine self-esteem through hard work and vulnerability. You feel a momentary sense of control and relief, but you are bypassing the opportunity to develop the emotional maturity required to deal with stress in a sustained, healthy way. You are robbing yourself of the chance to build a true internal sense of worth that cannot be taken away. When you use an external act to silence an internal problem, those unprocessed emotions, the anxiety, the grief, the inadequacy, will not disappear. They will simply return, often louder and more disruptive, because your avoidance has amplified them. So, the next time the urge arises, ask yourself this: what emotion is this urge actually trying to escape? And how much longer are you willing to postpone your emotional freedom? Now, let us move from the internal psychology to the external ripple effect, because a private habit never stays private. It will inevitably, subtly, but profoundly impact your connection with the people you love. And here, we must tackle what I call the shame-driven avoidance loop. This is a powerful, yet silent, engine of relationship distance. When the habit crosses into excess, it often brings with it a powerful undercurrent of guilt and shame. This shame doesn't just make you feel bad alone. It makes you feel deeply unworthy of real, healthy intimacy. You begin to fear exposure and vulnerability, not because of the act itself, but because of the compulsive need for it. This feeling of being fundamentally flawed, of carrying a secret, pushes your partner away. You create emotional and even physical distance because you feel too compromised to receive or offer genuine connection. That emotional distance then increases your stress, your loneliness, or your feeling of inadequacy, which drives you right back to the solitary coping mechanism. The habit causes the shame causes avoidance, and the avoidance reinforces the habit. This is the spiral we must break. The consequences also manifest in the realm of physical intimacy. This is the intimacy illusion. The highly stimulated, immediate, and completely predictable nature of a compulsive habit sets an impossibly high and deeply distorted bar for real-world arousal. Human intimacy, especially with a long-term partner, is often nuanced, slow-burning, and requires emotional connection as a prerequisite for physical pleasure. When your brain is conditioned to seek the fire alarm level of stimulation we discussed earlier, the campfire of connected, real-life intimacy can begin to feel dim, less exciting, or even unsatisfying. This creates a psychological chasm where the internal landscape of pleasure is radically disconnected from the external reality of connection. Furthermore, the very act of seeking solitary relief over and over can lead to an emotional laziness in your relationship. Why put in the hard work of communication, vulnerability, and navigating a partner's needs when you have a quick, simple solution always available? You begin to solve for stress in isolation rather than solving for it with connection. And that is a direct erosion of the foundation of partnership. Here we must make a crucial distinction, the one between the compulsive act and the involvement of pornography. While compulsive masturbation itself can certainly be damaging, the moment you introduce highly edited, fantasy-based pornography into the mix, you introduce an entirely new dimension of distortion. Pornography often sets expectations about bodies, arousal, communication, and roles that are physically, emotionally, and relationally unrealistic. It substitutes connection for performance and vulnerability for fantasy. The combination of compulsive habit and pornographic content is often the most corrosive force on genuine, healthy, partnered intimacy. The goal is not to eliminate a normal biological function. The goal is to reclaim your power of choice and to ensure that your internal world of pleasure and your external world of connection are finally aligned. We must ask, are you using this act to connect with yourself or to disconnect from your life? The truth is, we have all run from our feelings at some point. The healing journey is not about beating yourself up over the past. It is about building a future where your actions are driven by intention, not compulsion. The core of this work and the final solution lies in moving from suppression to substitution. We are not aiming for avoidance. We are aiming for conscious, intentional action. The wisdom of ancient mindfulness returns here to guide us. The key is to be present enough to identify the underlying need that the compulsive act is trying to meet. So, how do we begin to reclaim control? We start by replacing the reactive habit with a conscious, intentional pause, and that begins with a simple, actionable 3-step system for reclaiming control. I want you to make these 3 words your personal mantra the moment the urge arises. Recognize, rechannel, reconnect. First, recognize this is the mindful pause when the craving hits, that sudden, urgent need for relief. Do not react. Instead, pause, take one deep breath, and ask yourself, what is the true emotion Ned right now? What is the real thirst? Is it boredom? Is it anxiety? Is it the fear of having to confront a challenging conversation? By simply labeling the true emotion, you create a split second of space between the stimulus and your response. In that space, you reclaim your power. Remember, you can't heal what you don't acknowledge. This is your first act of self-mastery. Second, rechannel. This is the substitution. Once you recognize the true emotional trigger, you must replace the reactive, compulsive action with a healthy, conscious alternative. Your body is demanding a release of tension. Give it one, but in a way that builds you up, not breaks you down. If the trigger is anxiety, rechannel that energy into a 10-minute high-intensity workout or a brisk walk. If it is loneliness, rechannel it into reaching out to a friend or engaging in a creative project. If it is boredom, rechannel it by reading a philosophical text or planning your next major goal. You are not fighting the urge. You are simply taking the powerful, raw energy of that craving and redirecting it into a constructive path. Third, and perhaps most vital for your relationships, is reconnect. If you are in a partnership, shift your focus from solitary relief to shared intimacy. Instead of seeking that quick dopamine hit alone, intentionally seek a healthy, non-sexual connection with your partner. This could be a 30-minute device-free conversation about your day, a long walk, or a commitment to sharing a moment of deep vulnerability. The goal is to condition your mind to associate comfort, safety, and pleasure with genuine human connection, not solitary escape. You are healing the shame-driven avoidance loop by consciously stepping out of isolation and into shared presence. The path forward is not about being perfect. It is about being present. The true measure of your healing is not how many times you avoided the urge, but how many times you consciously chose to step out of the victim role and become the author of your intentions. Your power is not in suppression, but in conscious substitution. This conversation is an invitation to choose a life of sustainable, authentic fulfillment over a life of short-circuited, immediate relief. Your true connection starts with yourself. I invite you to reflect on these 3 steps: recognize, rechannel, reconnect, and share your insights, your challenges, and your intentions below. Let us begin this journey toward conscious living together.